Hello, everyone. This is Jeanne-white from Social Connections at Passionate World Radio. And today, again, on the Wine and Cheese, we have another speaker that is here to talk, and her name is Shelia. Welcome, Shelia.
Thank you very much, Jeanne-white. Thank you for the invitation to give me 10 minutes to vent.
Thank you. That's good. There we go.
All right. Today I would like to vent about something that was brought up in a conversation that a few of us were sitting around Panera's and we were having coffee. And one of the girls said, I don't understand what's happening with the healthcare field. And one of my friends was just had surgery, was saying, oh, my gosh, so many things went wrong. She didn't have this, she didn't have that, and there wasn't really good discharge instructions. And she was really upset about this. But then one of the other nurses said, what is this customer thing? I've heard that now all patients are called customers. I don't think that's right. So I thought I would talk a little bit about that. I could probably talk for 3 weeks about it. But approximately 15, maybe 18 years ago, some marketing decided that in order to increase the profitability of an emergency room, a new model of advertising was necessary. Instead of treating patients, administrators decided to call them customers. This was a little misguided after I had my head wrapped around it. Patients to customers. It really has led to an unintended result. But let me talk about that. When it first came out, I thought maybe customers was pretty good. It didn't leave the stigma of a patient. But a customer is usually, likely feeling well. He's going out shopping, going to restaurants, and no matter what he complains about at a restaurant or she complains about at a restaurant, they're usually accommodated. They're entitled to get what they came for. If they're used to having a rare steak someplace, then they always expect to get the same type of food. And if they don't, they can ask to have it returned and to get another new meal. The management in restaurants and customer-oriented, even if you go into TJ Maxx or Home Goods, they're committed to speed and comfort and satisfaction of all of their customers. And no matter how rude or antagonistic a customer would be, he wouldn't be sued. Now, I still had some trouble wrapping my head around all this, but then I compared it to a patient. I was an ER nurse for a while. Patients come in, they were anxious, they were fearful, they had an awful lot of pain. Many they were intoxicated with alcohol or other drugs. They wanted to get drugs. Some of them were bleeding from every orifice there was. They were short of breath. They had chest pain. Some of them come in, and it was their last day. They were dying. Mentally ill. Our patients needed to be taken care of. And as an ED nurse or emergency room nurse, that I caused some pain. A lot of times I had to draw blood, which is putting a needle into a vein. I needed to put an IV into the patient. I wouldn't be putting IVs into customers. We would send them over to X-ray. They would be getting all sorts of tests. We had to move them. We had to put catheters in them. None of this is an easy thing to do. So customers really didn't fit well with me. So what happens? Now the customer is told by all sorts of those signs outside, the billboards, that they are advised by these billboards that they will be seen in a certain number of minutes after arrival, regardless of whether other patients have more urgent needs. He's told or she's told that they're entitled to what they want, whether his wishes are rational or necessary or good for him. Now, the reason for this is that the hospital administration likes great satisfaction scores. And if nobody knows about them, look up Press Ganey scores, PRESSGANEY scores. This is what CEOs and all of the administrators and the board want, good satisfaction scores. But if a mom comes in and wants antibiotics for her child's cold, and the physician tells her, hey, wait a minute, the kid has a cold. I don't want to give him antibiotics. Well, if he doesn't give him antibiotics and that woman writes on her satisfaction score that the doctor absolutely refuses to give antibiotics, right or wrong, the physician gets into trouble because that Press Ganey score is low. If a patient wants oral or intravenous narcotics, again, the physician, if he doesn't want a low score in the Press Ganey scores, if he doesn't give it, he's going to get low scores if the patient writes back on the Press Ganey. This goes on and on. If a patient wants an X-ray or a CAT scan, the physician has a hard time whether or not. And even if he says, no, I think it's harmful to you, it doesn't matter. I've been there. I've seen them throw a tantrum. You do this or I'm going to call the administrator and tell him how bad you are. The administrator really wants happy paying patients and high satisfaction scores. That's the bottom line. He's competing against his colleague administrators in other hospitals. He doesn't have too much concern about whether or not these things don't work, like if you give antibiotics, it could be harmful, or if you give them more drug medicine, it could be harmful, because they aren't doctors. They're in a whole different field. Customers who are constantly reminded that they are entitled to the speedy care and whatever they want, they become angry when they get disappointed. And who ends up with that? The anger is often vented on the emergency department staff. The administrators aren't down there at 3 o'clock when everything else is going on, when you have people that learned that you're not going to get exactly what you want. You're not going to bully the doctor. You can walk out. The doctor takes his low Press Ganey scores because he doesn't want to harm you. But then the patient will cause some problems with the nurses and the physicians, the medical assistants. And if he gets too mad and he needs to be restrained, the doctors and the nurses don't want to restrain him. Who ties up customers? Really? I've never been in home goods and got tied up because I didn't like something. Hospitals refuse to support nurses and nurses' aides who have been assaulted. There's not one case of a hospital suing a patient who has assaulted a nurse. Not that I have found, and I would love to know if somebody has found that. If a nurse reports an assault, and if it's a hospital that doesn't want to be known about these assaults, then they twist that around and say, well, wait a minute. What could you have done to prevent this? You have had a record here of coming up to us and telling us who assaulted you. There must be something that you have done to provoke that attack. And the nurse can be labeled as a troublemaker. And she is discouraged from taking action against the patients. When a patient spits at a nurse or bites her or jabs her with a dirty needle or throws urine or feces at her, this person is exposing her to hepatitis C and AIDS. And these are only two possibilities of the life-altering and possibly fatal injuries for which a nurse has no recourse. And I don't mean just a nurse. I'm talking about medical assistants, X-ray techs. This happens to all healthcare workers. Sometimes hospitals are afraid of being sued, that if anybody who lays a hand on a patient is risking her job. Most security guards won't restrain a patient, and they are not even stationed in the emergency department. The customer model of an ED or emergency room, the customer model of an emergency room care really has been a disaster. I feel as though nurses are a defenseless target with no rights. The ED physician is forced to do what he doesn't want to do, and millions of dollars are wasted on unnecessary tests. The customer model promotes violence by protecting the perpetrator, by making the nurse more vulnerable, by giving patients unrealistic expectations, by allowing the patient to direct his own care, and by orchestrating confrontations between demanding patients and ED staff who are trying to do the right thing, not the thing that pleases them. Thank you very much, Jeanne-White, for allowing me to vent that for, I think it's been 8 minutes.
No, that's fine.
And I will,
time is not an issue as long as you get your message out, and then down the road, and get this out, because I don't think people really do understand it. And I myself, I don't understand customer. I just don't understand it, and I never will. I think it's a marketing, like you said, a marketing ploy, and it doesn't work. Need to readjust it. Right.
That's exactly what it is, because a customer, all I can picture myself is in the middle of Home Goods, walking around, and if I say something and suppose somebody doesn't like my comment, I certainly don't expect to be, reprimanded for saying that.
Mm-hmm. No, you wouldn't expect that at any of the stores, nothing like that. You're there to purchase something. As a customer, that's what you're doing. You're purchasing something at a store. And
if I want to purchase something and I see a leg broken, I expect it to get a new one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect to have to buy that.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Yeah. Unless you're looking for, maybe a discount. I'm not sure you can go into an ER and I'll say, "Oh, wait a minute, is there a discount on fixing my leg?" I mean, think about it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's how I feel, and I've been, for years. I mean, this has to be 15, 17 years that the patients are being called customers,
mm-hmm.
and I just can't wrap my head around it. I've worked too long in an emergency room. They're patients, and no customer would ever want me to put an IV into their arm or draw their blood or put a Foley catheter into them.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what a customer is.
Totally. It's what it comes to. But I think by doing this wine and cheese, Shelia, and then we've had other individuals on the show, is that perhaps down the road, you're all doing something very similar, and somehow we may connect all of you together, and many bring more power to change.
That's right.
And that's what it's about. That's all about. But I can't thank you enough, Shelia, for also, being on here and discussing this.
Thank you. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's been on my mind ever since this came out, and it's like no one else has offered that opportunity that I could go and say something.
Mhm. And we're not singling out any hospitals or anything. We're just talking about this stuff in general. This is a general thing. That's all, just general. And so I thank you very much for being on the show today. I want to thank you again, and I want to thank our listening audience. And if they have any comments or suggestions, they can write to me at jwhite7033@comcast.net, and we would look forward to hearing from your comments, because nothing changes unless we start something. So again, thank you, everyone. I know. Thank you again, Shelia. This is Jeanne-White from Social Connections at Passionate World Radio. And I'm looking forward to the next one. And so I'll see you again on Wine and Cheese, everyone. Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.